On this episode, we're going to talk about how stress can and will affect your body. Not just stress, anxiety, pressure, overwhelm, fatigue, depression, even inadequacy, insecurity. It will all affect your body. This mind-body connection is everything. All right, so we're going to talk about it in this episode. I'm Coach Mike Basevic. I'm the founder and creator of the Anxiety-Free Executive Program, the #1 program in the world at helping high performers eliminate, not distract, not drug up, not medicate, but eliminate anxiety, stress, chronic worry, overwhelm, fatigue, burnout, depression, imposter syndrome, fear, you name it, we get rid of it. We don't distract from it, we get rid of it. And the folks that come to us, these are high performers, man. They have a lot at stake. They've created great lives, but they're not enjoying it. You know, whether their mind is racing and keeping them up at night, or they wake up in dread every day of their life, trying to get to the next day, and they should be enjoying their life. They come to me, we get them healthy. I've been doing this for 18 years, and I was the poster child for the work that I do. And I detail it in my book, The Broken Sage. And you can get it at thebrokenSage.com. But it's an amazing book. I tell my story of collapse, lost everything 20 years ago, and it was the journey. It put me on the journey, the catalyst to get me to understanding the mind, learning what the mind is, and how the mind works, and how we bring the mind to peak efficiency. I did it in my life, and I've coached people to do it in their lives over the last 18 years. And I'm proud to say the Anxiety-Free Executive Program is considered the #1 program in the world at helping high performers or committed people eliminate all of those emotional challenges, if you will, right, that are impacting your life in a great way. Today, we're going to talk about what it does to your body, and what I was experiencing 20 years ago, right, even 23, 24 years ago, because I was experiencing it for a few years, and then a little bit after my collapse, right. But I was stressed, man. I was a young professional, and I had some success early on in my career. Then I opened up my own business, and then as we got bigger and started to grow, and I went from a one-man, solopreneur to a business owner, and I had employees, and I had responsibilities and onboarding and goals and outcomes. I was already a pretty wound tight guy from my childhood, which I detail in the book, but I was anxious. I was stressed. I didn't know I just knew I was stressed, but I was just bubbling up inside all the time. And I had a crippling low self-esteem too. I didn't think I deserved success. So subconsciously, internally, I was battling the goals that I wanted to accomplish. So as a young guy in my 30s, is in shape. I'd work out 6 days a week, and I was a heavy lifter. So, and then go home, shower up, have a little breakfast, go to the office, right? And by 8 o'clock in the office, 8:15, here it started. I started to get tingling in my pinky finger and the tip of it. Then it would go through the whole finger. Then it would go to my next finger and be tingling. And it was it was scary. It was annoying. I'm like, what is this? And then it would go up to my arm. And by the afternoon, it was up here, and I felt my entire right side tingling. Then at night, it would be in my face. And this didn't happen once. It happened every single day. And if I went out socially, because I didn't let it stop me from enjoying my life, but I was scared. If I was in a restaurant at night, I would go to the bathroom. I'd pour cold water in my face. I'd try to distract myself. But I thought I was having a heart attack or a stroke. I had crippling fear and stress over my health, right? And so I went from doctor to doctor to doctor, and I did stress tests. I was almost laughed out of the cardiologist's office, 23 years ago, whatever it was, when I did the stress test, and he says, come here. He says, look at your heart pumping. He says, man, you're a horse. He was right. 23 years later, I'm still standing. And because you're a horse, man. He goes, you're healthy. There's nothing wrong with your heart. And I said, well, there's something wrong with me, man. So I thought I was having a stroke, did nerve tests, did blood tests, did blood pressure. Blood pressure was high because I was stressed. I was wound tight every day, right? So my blood pressure was high, and like high, like 160 over 100 high. So young guy in pretty good shape, and just skyrocketing. So I was always feeling like something was going to happen to me. And despite the dozens of doctor's visits, nothing was wrong. At one point, it got so bad, it sounds so ridiculous now that I know what the mind is, but I called a psychic. I heard a psychic. She says, I can, talk to people about their health, well-being, and I heard her on the radio and I set an appointment with her and she, yeah, obviously, whatever she said, she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "You tell me." No, I didn't say that. And she said, you may have something going on with your stomach. I said, "No, there's something going on here." And every doctor, like, I'd argue with them. There's something wrong with me. There wasn't. It was all emotional. Then flash forward a couple of years and I dealt with it and it was scary. And, then when everything in my life collapsed, I was just a ticking time bomb emotionally. I would get pains in my left, shoulder and pains in my chest, and I thought, "Man, I was having a heart attack all the time." And sometimes I'd have to leave the office, go home, and lay on the couch for an hour, 2 hours during the middle of the day to relax. It was that bad. It was all emotional. When I learned what I teach now, after my collapse and I lost everything, marriage, business, everything, when I started to study the mind, I started to learn these concepts, and all of a sudden, all the health issues went away. And I didn't, like, set out to fix the health issues at that point. I set out to fix the collapse. And how somebody so committed and hardworking could fall on such hard times, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't understand it, but I realized that it was me the entire time. And when I understood what the mind is, once I learned that and how to bring the mind to a place of being in the zone every day, like that peak state, that acceptance, then everything went away. And in fact, it went away and I forgot about my health issues. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, holy cow, the tingling's been gone for weeks. I forgot all about it. And it hasn't been back since because it was all emotional. And I get to that in a second. I've had clients like Sean, a wonderful woman, came in my program 9 years ago now, or 7 years, no, 9 years ago now. And she did a breakthrough call with me. She says, "Coach, can you get me healthy? I have crippling anxiety, insecure. I've got relationship issues. I've never had a good relationship. I've been married twice." And I said, "Well, we can definitely get rid of the emotional stuff." And she says, "I have Crohn's disease. I'm 30 pounds underweight." She was 100 pounds, 5'8", 100 pounds. And after the fact, she sent me a picture and she was a skeleton. And like really, really thin, dangerously thin. And the doctor said, "Sean, if you don't gain weight, you're going to die." And she had 2 kids counting on her. And she says, "Coach, I try to gain weight. I can't gain weight. The Crohn's is just kicking my ass." And I said, "Well, I'm going to get you healthy emotionally. Your body should respond." And I said, "I guarantee I'm going to get you healthy emotionally. I can't guarantee that the Crohn's will heal itself or whatever, but I can promise you'll feel better." And we did. We got Sean healthy, eliminate the anxiety, eliminate the stress, eliminate the overwhelm, and the insecurity, the low self-esteem, right? So she was flying high emotionally. And she says, "Coach, what's next?" I said, "Time to eat." And so she started to eat and gained the weight back. And she felt good. For the first time in 5 to 8 years, she was like gaining weight back. And within a couple of months, she was back at her ideal weight, feeling better than ever. And she came to one of my live events in Scottsdale. And she said, "Coach, it's time." She says, I'm gonna get off all these drugs. I'm gonna literally, my gut, Crohn's, everything. I'm gonna keep getting healthy emotionally, and I'm gonna be the healthier I've ever been physically. And sure enough, within about 6 months, Sean went back for her test to her normal doctors, and there was no sign of the Crohn's, none. And they sent her a letter, and they said, "What did you do? Like, we don't know how this happened. We've never seen Crohn's go into remission." And she goes, "Well, I got healthy emotionally." And the doctors like laughed at her, right? We knew the truth. And now flash forward all that time, Sean's still part of our community. She's wonderful. She's the picture of health. There's been no sign of Crohn's for 8 years, right? So how can that be? She couldn't gain the weight. She wouldn't be here. I promise you that. I wouldn't be here, with the chest pains and the arm pains I was having, blood pressure through the roof. There's no way I'd be here if I was still suffering emotionally. And once she got healthy emotionally, her body responded. And we've had people, migraines, chest pains, acne, we've had back pains, and in addition to stomach issues and things and headaches and constant headaches, or you name it. I mean, there's countless things that people have moved through physically when they get emotionally healthy. And the reason being, and listen, there's experts in this arena. I'm not an expert in the mechanics of the body and everything, but I do know that the mind-body connection is everything. And there's no separation. And you could see it when you're afraid of something, let's say public speaking, and you go up on stage and your voice changes, your face is red, you're sweating, cotton mouth, heart palpitations or heart racing, sweating, and you're emotionally afraid of public speaking. All those things are happening physically. If like I don't like heights, outdoor heights, and I'm okay with having that fear because I don't want to go to the edge of a building or a mountain. So, but even if I see something on TV, like or I was at Disney with my daughter last year, and we were on this like flight ride that we like we're supposed to be flying over the mountains and stuff. And my stomach was I enjoyed it. I loved it because I knew I was safe, but my stomach was, doing jumping jacks, right? And like, whoa, you look down, you feel like you're at 30,000 feet in the air. You're not, but you feel that. So the stomach reacts. If I see something on TV that'd be like heights are scary, their stomach reacts. You guys have all experienced this. That's the mind-body connection. Now, the way I explain it, the simplest way I explain it is you look at your body as one big communications hub. So when people have a panic attack, like people have anxiety, I've had panic attacks in the past, but I've had clients that I've watched have panic attacks, and they get jittery, they jump, their heart races, they quiver, they cry, and it's a physical reaction to an emotional thing. But people, when they have panic attacks, the blood pressure skyrockets. Or any of you that have had the white coat syndrome, right? You go in, you see the white coat in the checkup for the doctor, and your blood pressure skyrockets. And the nurse knows this, so she's just, let's give it a minute. Let's give it we'll take it again. And it's plummeted. Because as soon as you see the white jacket, your mind says fear, and the body responds. It's all one big communications hub. And doctors will say, well, you regenerate your cells, you get an entirely new body in X number of months, right? A year or whatever. You keep regenerating cells, but if the cells come into an unhealthy emotional environment that's stressed and overwhelmed and fatigued and worried or depressed, the cells will adapt to an unhealthy environment, right? And they have to. So they become part of the community that already is. You take a child and you put it in a crime-infested, gang-infested neighborhood or poverty-stricken neighborhood. What's that child going to grow up and be like? The odds are gangbanger, crime, poverty, okay? And but you take that same child and you raise it in a loving home, in a great environment, great neighborhood, filled with opulence and love and support, that child's probably going to grow up be pretty good. So no difference with the cells, no difference with the body. And if you look at people who are suffering emotionally, I've had a lot of experience here, the color goes out in their face. They don't look healthy. They're slumped over, they're sore, their body aches, arthritis, all that stuff, right? And yet they work out, they eat healthy, they just don't feel good. That's all emotional. The emotional mind is the driver. Now, the mind and the brain are different. The brain is the switching station in your head that takes and receives signals from the mind. The mind is your awareness. It's who you are. Like thoughts don't come from the brain, they come from the mind, the subconscious mind. And it's hard to quantify, it's hard to really understand what the mind is, because it essentially isn't really, it is physical in the sense that it's who you are. And part of that is your physical body. But the mind is the consciousness, it's the awareness. And that's where all your emotions come from. That's where all the habits are formed. And that's the director of this physical environment you're in. So if the mind is suffering emotionally, then you're going to suffer physically. Okay. You're not going to feel right. That's why people get fatigued, or you wake up at night and then you're fatigued. And, supplements and all that stuff. Sean tried everything to get healthy. And I can give you a number of my client stories. And I had a client, Jason, out of New York one time. Healthy guy. His blood pressure was through the roof. And like 190 over 120, like scary shit. And he had a blood pressure machine at home, and he would take his blood pressure 4 or 5 times a day. So we started to work together. I told him, don't throw the machine out, but give it to somebody. And he gave it to his sister, and she kept it, so he stopped taking it. He stopped focusing on it. I said, let's get you healthy emotionally. Now, he had the high blood pressure for years. Young guy though, maybe 40 years old, pretty good shape. And you did the program, and towards the end of the program, I said, now when's the last time you took your blood pressure? He says, Coach, it's been 7 weeks. You told me not to. I said, go take it. And it was like 125 over 85, something super low. He goes, I can't believe it. The mind completely changed the body. And so if you're in an unhealthy emotional environment, you're going to create an unhealthy physical environment. And that's where the problems start. That's where my problem started. If I drank alcohol, I'd be hungover. I'd have headaches the next day. I had constant tingling, constant chest pains, constant arm pains. I was fatigued. I was tired. I remember being like 33, 34 years old and being with my kids at Disney who were all young. I don't know how many were, maybe, I think they were all born. And I remember being so tired. I worked out 6 days a week. I was jacked. And I was fatigued. I was tired. I kept thinking, my God, it was 80 degrees. It was a beautiful day. I said, it's so hot here. And I kept having to sit on any chance I could to sit on a bench, I would. And I remember being just so tired. And that was also, thought I had an illness. I thought something was wrong. There was nothing wrong. It was emotional resistance, stress, overwhelm, anxiety, insecurity. And that emotional resistance permeates itself to every fiber, every being, every cell in your body. You're going to be unhealthy. And now, I go to Disney every year with my daughter who loves it. And we'll do 29,000 steps a day in the parks and stuff. I walk all day. And yet 23 years ago, whatever it was, I had to rest all the time. And so it tells you that the mind is governing the body. And it's going to get you sooner or later. You can't move around. Like Sean would not be here. I probably wouldn't be here physically right now. I wouldn't hurt myself, but I wouldn't be here because my body would have kept deteriorating along with my mind. That stress is dangerous, right? That's the one variable that, like, the heredity and DNA and habits like smoking and stuff, they can definitely affect your health. They will. But the one variable that's the most powerful, aside from your heredity, am I saying that correctly, is your emotional core. If you're stressed, you're going to experience it. I have so many clients who sent me before and after pictures, like Sean did, but Debbie Peterson and John Bennett, and these people lost their light. They were just blank. And then they come to Julie Joe, man, she looks 10 years younger than she did when she came to the program 8 years ago. And it's really like there's no separation. So you've got to get healthy mentally and emotionally. And if you don't, you're working against your physical health. You can go to the health, and there's people in the health club that will never miss a workout, but they're stressed. They live in constant worry, and they're thin, but they're not healthy. They're in shape, but they're not healthy. And because when you're emotionally not healthy, you're going to be physically not healthy, period, end of story. And the dangerous stuff, the excessive stress, the overwhelm, the anger, the rage, the pressure, that's the stuff that really affects your heart. That's the stuff that really affects like strokes, dementia, all those things. And then the fear, the anxiety, that affects your stomach. And now you're a magnet for deeper disease like cancer and things. And I'm not saying that any of us are impervious to that stuff, because we can all do that stuff. But when you're in a state of being of fear and worry and anxiety, and you're a magnet for that stuff, you're literally increasing the odds of you getting something. And a lot of my clients, when they're in resistance too, when they come to me, they always have something, whether it's back pain or a cold that they can't get rid of or something. And then when they get healthy, like, that stuff's off the table. I could promise you I haven't had a headache since 2007. I mean that. I've not had a headache since 2007. If I drink alcohol now, I'm fine. I don't get hungover. I wake up clear-minded, happy, tremendous energy every single day. I've got aches, and I'm a golfer, and I'm, not a spring chicken anymore. So I have aches and pains and things. And I also had torn meniscus in both knees in 2004. And my friend, who was an orthopedic surgeon, said, Mike, you got to fix this. I couldn't walk. It was so much pain. Every step I took was like a razor blade inside of my ligaments, just cutting it. And I couldn't afford it at the time. That was the beginning of my downfall, right? And I just said, no, I was self-insured, self-employed. And I'm like, I can't do that now. But I would walk in pain every single day. I couldn't bend down in like what we would call the catcher squat, right? If I would read a putt, I'd stand and bend at the waist. I couldn't bend my knees, couldn't run. And when I learned and did this work, I realized that pain went away one day. And it's been gone for years, 19 years, it's been gone. I can do anything. If I want to run, I run. If I want to read a putt, I crouch down in the catcher position. Zero pain. And so what, the body healed itself? Yeah, it did. Either that or it's masking it because I'm in such a state of acceptance, but I think it's the former. The body heals itself. So if you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, you're anxious, you're worried, you're in fear, you can't live like that. It will definitely affect your body. Your energy level, you're going to be fatigued. That's where burnout comes from. That's where fatigue comes from. When that mind is taxed every minute of every day, you can't live like that. You're literally a magnet for disease now. And nobody wants to live that way. So the important piece is to get that mind healthy, right? And there's a lot of things that we teach on these episodes to get that mind healthy. And so I would say to listen to them and apply what I teach you, right? But understand there is a correlation, there is a connection. Now, if you want our help in addressing any of this stuff or bringing your mind to peak efficiency, click the link below, nolimitsnation.com/book, and book a call with our team. We'll talk to you about what you're dealing with and how it's affecting you, but also what the other side looks like. We get rid of those thoughts like I did with Sean. This is where we get you healthy. You're not only going to enjoy your life, but your health will probably turn around, and it did, and it has. It's the key, guys. So again, if you like this video, like it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want more, and share it with somebody you love because it's powerful stuff. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next episode.